Everybody's ready? All right, we're back with episode 26. We have a very special guest with us today. I'll let Jason
26.
introduce and take over.
Oh, thanks, Joy. Well,
Anytime.
one of my special friends here, somebody I went to college with, has a remarkable story, has layers to his story. I think it's a little different than some of the other guests we had on.
Right.
And I'm super excited to announce and present him today and let the world hear a little bit about him.
Amen.
It's my man, Mike Milton.
What's up, Jay? How you doing, man?
All right, good. Bartlett Bangers. King University, baby.
Yeah, King University days.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure for me to come down and come to the podcast. So proud of you doing your thing along with being a AD at Long Branch. Very proud of you, man. And it definitely was good meeting you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
so let's just jump right into it.
Yep.
I want to talk more about the basketball end of it.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
Joy is very knowledgeable about the faith, and she could probably go into areas that I can't really talk
Okay.
elegantly about.
Yet. You're getting there.
yet.
You're getting there. I have
Everything
faith.
done with love.
Yes,
Everything's
yes.
done with
And
love.
I have faith in you.
There you go. But yeah, talk about the spotlight a little bit, man.
Basketball spotlight, I started back in 2006. Actually, when I lived down here in Eatontown, lived in Eaton Crest, and I was working for a company called Metro Hoops, where we did tournaments, camps, showcases, and camps and things like that nature for high school kids and grammar school kids. I wanted some ownership in the company. They told me the opportunity was not available. So I stepped out on faith and I started Basketball Spotlight in 2006. We specialize in the middle school and grammar school level. We do tournaments, camps, showcases, and those type of events for the middle school kids. It was a void then, and now it actually changed the landscape of basketball. Now there's middle school tournaments and camps and events all over the country now. And we were definitely like the foundation of that. It was kind of a situation where people were, I wouldn't say afraid, but they didn't really want to touch that area. They felt the kids were too young. So we kind of trailblazed it and let it be seen that it was okay to actually write about a kid in 6th grade and show videos of a kid in 5th grade and things of that nature. And now the world is caught on, which is great. Of course, it's competition for us, but it gives more exposure to the kids because we can't be everywhere. So that's the main goal, having the exposure for the kids. So now we've been going since 2006, and it's a joy. It's a blessing to get up every day and do something I love to do. And it's my job, but like it's something I love to do, something that I would do for free.
I remember when you lived in Eaton Crest, and I remember us sitting in your front room and you was typing on your laptop or the desktop, and you said, "Yo, this is gonna blow up." He said, "Don't nobody report about middle school kids." I still remember that, and look at you now. You know what I mean? Like you doing tournaments and camps with thousands of kids in the gym. You know?
Yeah. Sometimes it'd be breathtaking because you can. Like I was at my camp last summer in August, Future Phenom Camp, and we had 360 kids. So when you stand there and then you just look at the sea of kids and you think about that all of this was just a thought. And you actually worked and worked and worked, and then you had the blessing to make this into fruition. And then sometimes I get taken back when I see all those kids running up and down the court with my logo on their jersey and my logo on their shorts, and it's like, is this real? Sometimes I gotta pinch myself, and it's not a point of being arrogant or braggadocious. I'm not coming from that, and it's coming on realizing that anything can happen if you got faith and you put the actual work in to try to make something happen. It's more from that end.
Well, what's cool is I like looking at the picture, and I think I told you, it's a picture of you standing with your back, and then it's the sea of kids. That picture's hot.
Yeah, that was the camp from last summer.
And and the fact that you supply every kid with a full uniform You know, you can't go nowhere where there's a camp and all the kids are fully uniformed.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's the of course that it makes the cost more for us than normal camps, but we look at it as the image and everything is big for me. So when you come into our camp, first of all, we want the parents and the kids to feel comfortable. So we're gonna have logos and pictures and everything in there because we already know some people are gonna come in apprehensive at first if they never been there before. So if they come in and stuff look disheveled, then their anxiety gonna go higher.
Right.
And then if one thing go wrong, then that might mess their whole weekend up. So we try to make it pleasant and very inviting when they first walk in. So then their anxiety goes down, and now they feel comfortable with what's going on. And we try to make the experience great for the kids. Because I always said, like, when people ask me what you like the most about it, there's two things. I can remember back when we were young, you had to be in the newspaper, and that was the big thing. But then you would have to cut the newspaper out and probably try to figure out a way to send it to your grandparents in North Carolina and your aunt that live in Louisiana and this and that. I couldn't imagine being in 6th grade and I'm in a class with my classmates and I'm telling them that I'm really nice in basketball, and then I could go to a website to prove it. Right. That might have my video, and then everybody can see it, and I could send it to people all over the world and all my family from everywhere. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Just having that kind of opportunity. And the second part that makes me feel good is when I go to high school and college games and the kids that I wrote about come up to me and give me a hug. Most of them be in college. They practically grown now, or they be high school stars. But they come up to me and give me a hug because they remember when I was the first person to write about them when they were in middle school. So it lets me know that I'm actually impacting somebody's lives. So I love that part of it.
All right. We talked a little bit about the camps. Let's start talking about the tournaments a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
You know, I hosted in Long Branch a
Yeah.
couple of the tournaments, and I recall, you know, the tournaments are very intense.
Yeah.
And some
Yeah.
big name superstar
Yeah.
kids. I remember Greg Anthony's son.
Yeah.
My man Anthony Mason's son. All of them, you know, all
You got
being
Carl
at the
Anthony
gym.
Towns.
Carl Anthony Towns.
Marvin Bagley.
All of them playing back then. And
Yeah.
all these guys in the NFL, NBA now. So with that being said, I remember one guy saying, call Mike. You know, I want to talk to Mike now. And the dude told him, yo, chill out, bro. Mike don't want to talk to you. He said, Mike could kick you out this tournament. He said, nah, man, don't tell Mike that. Don't tell Mike to kick me out. This is the hottest tournament in the Eastern region. So, you know, tell us a little bit about the tournament. What makes it so hot?
What we did, we made the attention that comes along with the event the focal point. So when you do well and you win, you get on the website, you get videos, you get on our social media. So now people from all over you getting recognition from everybody around the country. So the teams and the coaches and the kids, they want that spot to get the recognition. So they're gonna compete at that highest level to get that kind of recognition. So it's a win-win. They're getting better because everybody's putting their all on the line, and the level of competition rises. So it kind of makes our events better. So in some tournaments, you get a couple warm-up games in pool play, and then you probably don't get a good game until Sunday when the playoffs start. But most of the time in our events, as soon as you get out of the van, you might be playing a team that's ranked in the country. So it's no warm-up time. You got to go in, and you got to be focused to play and to get it on. So.
Oh, nice. And, you know, a little bit till we move on to the next level of your life. Let's talk a little bit about the impossible and the Team Rio and Team University, I guess it's called now, or Rio University. I know you're involved with them somewhat.
Yeah, we do the super skill case together with Mike Lancaster and Brian Klasky. I had the privilege to be there for the birth of Impossible, and those guys do a great job. I personally know Brian, and part of the reason Scotty Lewis landed with them was because a phone call that I made to get the ball rolling, and I'm just happy that the kid, it changed his life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He was headed somewhere totally different.
Now he's SEC all freshman team at Florida.
I'm talking about when he was in 6th grade and he first came up here. He was supposed to be going to New York. Somebody called me on the phone and was like, do you know this kid? He's talking about, matter of fact, it was Lloyd Daniels. He called me on the phone and he was like, I'm on the bus with this kid. He said he's the number 2 6th grader in the country. So he was like, I said, where y'all going? He said, we on our way to New York. He's moving to New York. And I said, who is he? And then he said, Scotty Lewis. Then I said, now me thinking in my head, my business mind started going. I'm like, if he go into New York, the teams over there, they're gonna be taxing me to get him in my tournament. So I'm gonna have to let him come free and do all of this extra stuff. So I said, I know who I could call. I called Klasky and told him the boy situation and this and that. Gave him Lloyd number. He called Lloyd Daniels, and the rest was history. Yeah. So just that phone call and who I knew just changed the kid's life, just like that.
So, being somebody who knows nothing about anything that you're talking about, I know none of the names. I know none of anything. So what I'm getting is that the point was to pour into kids that people were not pouring into.
Yeah, because back then the media coverage and attention was basically for high school kids.
Right.
Nobody dared to really go into the middle school level because a lot of people felt there was. We did it a little bit with Metro Hoops, but this was the first time somebody made it their focal point.
Okay. So, so my company works with adults with disabilities. And
Okay.
So my mind always goes back to people with special needs.
Okay.
So has there ever been a thought of the kids with special needs that might want to participate in a version of what you're doing? Because I will tell you, they get excluded from everything.
I can imagine it. I never really even thought about that avenue of it. That could be something that somebody would probably want to get into. Mm-hmm. I know in order for you to do something like that I do, it takes a lot of groundwork and leg work.
Right.
From a little less now because of social media and you being able to touch people more directly. Me, I had the leg work to meet all of these teams that's coming out now, where now you just go on Instagram or something and send out a blast to different teams and stuff. I didn't have that luxury when I started.
Right.
It wasn't on Instagram and I don't know if it was Facebook in 2006, but it wasn't really like it is
what
now.
What it is now, right.
The person would have to be, this one thing I always tell it, people, if you in it and you doing it for the money, it's not gonna last.
Right.
It gotta be something that you passionate about, that you doing it for free, that you doing it just because you love it. Mm-hmm. So it have to be somebody that's in the disability kids that also loves basketball or loves whatever sport that they're into and willing to have that patience and put the whole thing together.
Right. I know, because I get people I work with adults, but I get people who cross my paths all the time from school districts and different stuff, and they're looking for resources. And there's typically not any for sports. Mm-hmm. For anybody with any level of a disability, there's really just nothing available. So, I mean, I feel like it's hope that there could be if somebody found, the passion to do it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely needed because you never know what talent somebody has. You just got to give them a chance. And I feel like that is what your whole mission was with the kids, that people were not, they were not paying any in mind until they hit a certain age. Yeah. And they had a certain skill level that they felt like, whatever. But so, I just always have to put my
I like
my
that.
special
I like
needs.
that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's,
although I'm your co-host,
right.
I am an athletic director.
Yeah, but we've talked about that.
But what I want to say about that is now the state, I can only talk as far as New Jersey, the NJSIAA.
Okay.
In schools, there's now what they call unified sports.
Right.
And unified sports is a whole nother separate entity of sport competition. So it's all special needs,
Wow.
Kids with IEPs. Now, we don't have it in Long Branch. It's a possibility of it coming along. It's a bigger branch of the Special Olympics. This
Okay.
is more like a whole, just like now we're hosting state basketball state championships.
Right.
There's unified sports state championships that are happening as well. So there's different schools around in the state that have those programs. So that interest is definitely picking up for the special needs kids as well.
So then for people, for parents or people like myself that are advocates for people with special needs, how do they mobilize to get it into
Well-
their local school? I mean, I happen to live in Long Branch, but into their districts.
Well, it's more about the number of special needs. The Long Branch is a big population of IEP students, but we don't have a big population that signs up to participate. So that's why we use the Special Olympic outlet. Now, those with special needs, and maybe not as severe as others, they participate on the regular school team. So we do it both. But like I said, there's certain schools that have kids that are, disabled, that have a whole wheelchair
Right.
situation, like a whole team for them, and they would
But
compete against other schools.
Okay, so not to go too far left into advocacy stuff, and we can definitely talk about this outside of there. But part of the desire is for the inclusion part, and what is lacking, and I can only speak from my experience in public schools, is that what's lacking is the advocacy piece. So when you say there's not a lot of people who really that sign up, is probably because there's not a lot of people saying, hey, you should,
No,
and
we do.
encouraging them to do that.
We do. I have actually today. Well, I'm lying. Yesterday, I had 3 of the special ed teachers call me to help enroll their kids into some of the sports.
Okay.
So it's happening, but I guess not at that level
Right.
that maybe you're probably thinking. But we definitely have the inclusion piece,
Right.
and that's the piece that we definitely enforce in Long
Right.
Branch. Is we want everything. I don't even think we have, like back in the day, used to have that room for just special needs kids.
Well, right. I mean,
Oh,
public
okay.
schools do a
Yeah.
pretty good job at inclusion now,
Yeah.
but the problem is the stigma itself. It fosters exclusion. You know what I mean? Especially if it's a disability where it's a mental health issue, because there's a lot of fear there. You can't see it. If somebody walks with a cane or has a wheelchair for their mobility, you can see what the need is.
Yeah.
Somebody has a mental health issue or something like that that's not as visible, people are afraid of that, and they just assume that there is not the ability to do stuff, or an inability, or whatever. So I feel like this is a whole separate
Yeah, it
podcast
is,
on
it is.
advocacy in sports and public education, because I could go on and on. But back to Mike. Wait, go ahead. Pass notes. That's fine. That's
Nah,
exclusion
nah.
too.
This
No, I'm just
says
kidding.
Joy is talking too much.
Nah, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
But Joy, just to get back to Mike.
Yeah.
I know you and Mike had a good conversation downstairs in reference to some of the other stuff in his life.
Right.
You want to talk to him a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean,
as I pass the note.
yeah. Go ahead. Keep passing.
Right.
So, Mike, we talked a little bit about
Yeah.
what we do here at the podcast too. Kind of
Okay.
the mission is that we like for people to give people a platform to put a
Okay.
voice to their story, because we believe
Okay.
that there's power in sharing that and not holding it in.
Indeed.
And we always say we go through to bring other people through. So
Okay.
if you want to kind of start to talk about where your go-throughs were,
Okay.
so that people can relate to your story. And we'll get deeper into the faith sides and all of that
Okay.
kind of stuff. But wherever you're comfortable starting, just start and we'll go from there.
I'm gonna start with I had started Basketball Spotlight, and everything was rolling. I was enjoying life a little too much, partying and stuff, hanging with my friends, and got separated from my wife. We were still best friends though. Lived in she had moved to Neptune, and I was still living in Eatontown. And we was best friends though. But when you were immature like that, you don't really understand what marriage is supposed to be about. And I was selfish and not really. I didn't have the tools. Not no excuse, but not having a father, I never really learned how to conduct myself or handle situations inside a marriage. So when the problems arose, I usually wanted to escape, which included partying and drinking and doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. Now I know that. But so during our separation, like I said, we were still cool. Everything was good. And then on September 14th, 2009, my life changed forever. Me and her was supposed to do a project together, and she taught social studies. I taught social studies. So it was the Monday after Obama did the speech on education. I think he did it that Friday, and so she had her class coming in. She was bringing her class to my class, and we were supposed to do a collaboration on social studies or whatever. So I usually call her on my way to work for us to talk, and she ain't answer the phone, so I ain't really think nothing of it. I'm thinking she in the shower or whatever. So I get to work, and they like, Janelle ain't call in. Did you talk to her today? And I was like, nah. And then they was like, I said, well, she better be here because we got to do this project. And I was like, if she don't call when homeroom over, give me a call. Let me know. So homeroom was over. They told me to come down to the office. I get down to the office, and they like, she still ain't call in. Do you mind going to check on her because it's not like her? So I said, cool, but if she called while I'm on my way, just call me so I could turn around. She was like 20 minutes away, living in Neptune, 25 minutes away from Red Bank. So jumped on the parkway, go down, get to her house, and I see a car in the front, so I'm feeling relieved. Like maybe she overslept, maybe her friends was outside partying, and because the day before I was at Mr. Corley house and talked to her on the phone. That was the last time I talked to her. I was at his house. We was watching football. So, go up to the door, yell out, knock on the door, no answer. Yell out her name, no answer. So I tried the doorknob. Doorknob was open. I go in, go to the look around, yelling her name, no answer. Go to the bedroom, and I find her passed out on the floor. I see her on the floor. I immediately go into shock. Call 911. They come into the. I'm yelling her name, asking her, "Is she okay?" 911. The police come. They tell me. The guy comes in. He goes over. He checks her. And he was like, "She dead." And then I just lost it. And they was like, "Well, you got to leave out." So they took me out. Take me down to the first they took me to Neptune City Police. Sat in there for about 20 minutes, half hour. Then they was like, we gotta take you to the prosecutor office. So they take me to the prosecutor office at Asbury, the satellite office by the firehouse. So I go sit in there, and they questioned me for like 2 hours. It didn't seem that long because I was like in shock or whatever, but they questioned me for about 2 hours. So I'm thinking I'm in there helping them. And then 2 days later, newspaper article comes out. It says she was found. Didn't say who found her, but the last paragraph says she was estranged from her husband. They worked at the same job, and their divorce is supposed to be final October 6th. And this was September 14th. And that's when I said, oh my God. That's when I knew I was the number one suspect. And my world stopped at that point. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. It was just shocking because you didn't have nothing to do with anything, and you thinking you helping them, and then now you see this. And the first thing that you want to do is disappear, like run and hide, or like I didn't know what to do. So I get a call from a guy named Ron Venturi. He had been deceased now, whatever. And he was like, he had represented me in some small stuff before, like some assault type situation, and where somebody had actually tried to assault me or whatever. And he said, I'm gonna represent you. Don't talk to nobody. Don't say nothing to nobody. They're gonna put you through it, and I'm gonna make sure that you good. And cause don't talk to nobody. Don't say nothing to nobody. So for the next 3 years, I had to live in terror. I had to wake up every day and wonder if today gonna be the day.
Well, and I'm just gonna stop. So not only did you have to deal with that, you still didn't know what had happened.
At all.
And so no one is talking to you about what they think happened, or
No, they won't talk to me no more. And then once I told them that I had an attorney, it totally cut off communication. And then and I understood that me and her, we weren't from here. Like, so it's not like if me and her was from Trenton, both of us are from Trenton. So if something like that was to happen in Trenton, the word to be out on the street, I could go talk to somebody that might know what really would have happened to her. So down here, me and her were like tourists. Neither one of us is from here, so nobody cares about to tell what happened because we don't have family here. It was really no reason for nobody to tell on nobody else because they don't have no allegiance to us.
but I mean, like, they had to have determined medically what happened to her. And,
Oh, yeah,
and
they said-
legally you're still her next of kin. So like, I don't understand, and maybe I'm just ignorant, but like, I don't understand how they did not tell you.
No, they told me that she got shot, but they wouldn't tell me, like, they told me that she got shot, but they were still trying to, basically, they were saying that they felt like nobody had no reason to do nothing to her. You,
We're the only one with a motive. in
only
their
one would
opinion.
move because we about to get a divorce, and they felt like she had a pension, and I wanted to get her before our divorce came. So I was a victim of circumstance,
That's pretty sad, man.
and I had to sit there and I had to deal with it. And then it just kept getting scarier. So I'm dealing with this every day. My job tells me, at first I couldn't come back to work, period. So I had to just sit home.
By your choice?
Nah, they told me that I couldn't come back yet. So then I was out for about, I want to say 7 months, 8 months. Then when I came back, I couldn't go into the schools. Only could go into the Board of Education. So I couldn't even enter the schools. I couldn't have no contact with kids. I couldn't, none of that. I just had to sit in the board office every day.
So they admitted you of guilt right there.
Yeah, so I was in the board office for 6 years. I couldn't, one time I made a mistake and took a kid. What happened was they had brought a kid over to the sit over there for punishment. And the kid was like, yo, Mr. Melton, see, I didn't even know I couldn't go into the schools. What happened was the kid came over, they sat the kid down for punishment. I was over there, so then the kid was like, Mr. Melton, I'm about to miss lunch. So I take the kid back over to the school so he could eat his lunch, and that's when I was informed that I couldn't go into the schools.
I'm speechless. I'm not really,
I mean, I can laugh now, but then it wasn't the game. It wasn't pleasant. It wasn't like, it was a dread to wake up every day and actually have to go there and deal with that. And
I can't even imagine.
I wouldn't want you to. And then it got worse around 2013. Yeah, around 2013, I get a call from Ron. He was my lawyer then, and he was like, I got bad news. So now I think it's over for me. I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, what happened? He like, I got brain cancer. So I'm like, what you mean you got brain cancer? He like, I got brain cancer. Then he died like 3 months later. 2 days later after he died, they was knocking on my door trying to get me to come down and talk to him. And I'm like, yo, y'all just heartless.
The cops you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. So then and that's when I started self-medicating, and I couldn't take it. I couldn't face reality as it was. So when I had to even go back to work, I would go to work, do what I had to do. But when I came home, I would self-medicate, and I couldn't face what was going on.
You both just turned and looked at me. I mean, honestly, I know you're a man of faith, so I can just tell you that as you're talking, the only thing that I keep, not the only thing, but something that resonates with me is the story of Job in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you say something, so I don't know if you're familiar, Corley,
Yeah.
with that story, but
Yeah,
he
went
lost
through
everything.
He lost everything, yeah.
And, the story is that Satan approached God and said,
Yeah.
oh, you think he's so good? You think he's
Yeah.
going to stand faithful? Let me do everything. And God said, you can do everything but kill him.
Yeah.
And he lost his wife, his children, his riches, his land, his everything. He was stripped to absolutely nothing. So as you're talking, it's like systematically every single thing you had is just removed and removed and removed.
Yeah, it was, I mean, you go through it and then it's like, it becomes so regular that you just be like, you know what? I just got to try to act like this is not going on. So you try to put it in the back. So only time I would feel ease is when I would go on vacation or stuff like that. But then when I had to get on the flight to come back to New Jersey, the anxiety, the depression, and everything else would kick in. So during this time, I never really got a chance to grieve her because I was so worried about my own safety.
Mm-hmm.
And so as the years went on, the self-medicating picked up with alcohol, and then I didn't really realize that I was having a problem because it just got so common.
Right.
And that's what it does to you. I look at it now, I can remember saying something in a newspaper article when it first happened, when my lawyer took me to do a press conference. And I told the guy that for the first time in my life, I questioned God and my faith was in question. And it actually was, because now looking at it, I should have had more faith in him. And when I didn't, I reached for that other spirit, which was the alcohol. And I leaned on that instead of leaning on him.
And that's what people do, right? I mean, some people turn to alcohol, some people turn to drugs, some people turn to sex. It's all the same. You're trying to fulfill something that, only God can fulfill.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Talk about your faith a little bit prior to the devastating loss. Like, what was that like?
I knew about God, but it was kind of odd. Like, I would have my times where I would be into it, but I was a partier and a thing. So I was trying to, like, play the fence. When I came to understand that you can't play the fence, you got to be all the way in. But this is what I'm going to say. I wanted that feeling that I got later on in life, and I could never get that feeling and keep it. Like, that feeling of having that closeness to him. I wanted that feeling. So when I used to look at evangelists and see people in the crowd and see people even when I went to church that looked like they had that feeling, I would be envious because I wanted it. And sometimes envious to the point to where I would say that it was fake.
Now,
Right.
when you say
because
envious,
I didn't experience it.
Right.
oh, this is
This is
prior.
prior to
Yeah,
the loss.
yeah. Like I would see, envy. Like I would see people that had that spirit, and I wanted that. And since I couldn't get it, I thought that I told myself it was fake.
Yeah, I think I see it that way too.
Yeah.
At times, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I try to understand, but I don't understand.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
I believe, but I don't
Don't
know.
understand what though. Like what?
Like what Mike was just talking
Yeah,
about.
the actual feeling of you see people with it, you see people that look like they got it.
So you're referring to like the peace and the joy and the
Having that-
light that comes
Yeah,
from.
exactly.
But because it comes from surrender.
Exactly,
So if you
exactly.
haven't fully surrendered,
Exactly.
you don't get
exactly.
But how
And
does surrender happen?
So
like what I went through.
right.
You go through
I was just gonna say.
But Mike went through something dramatic.
yeah, but that's what
And
it
then-
took. That's
so I'm
what
gonna
it took.
give you. So I'll give you my example,
That's what it
which is
took.
less traumatic. So I had a few, and we'll talk about because you talked to me. You talked to us downstairs, kind of about the moment and then the moment.
Yeah.
So my moment that he's talking about, happened by myself
Mm-hmm.
in my bathroom in my house, and I was emotionally in such a place that I was literally hurting myself, and I had
Mm-hmm.
never been that way before, and I just fell out and was like, all right, God, just end it. Like, just end it.
Yeah.
My boys will be fine. It'll be fine. Like, I can't go on like this. This can't be the purpose. And I was in church, and I was seeing all these people fall out with the Holy Ghost or do all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, that's all. Yeah, you're all great,
Yeah.
And some people do have a false ghost. I mean, they do it for show. But most folks, the people who you envy are the people who truly have it.
Yeah.
And in that moment is when God said to me, daughter, just surrender.
Yeah.
And the surrender is nothing, I
Yeah.
literally was just like, all right, I give it to you.
Exactly.
Everything. Because if I didn't, in that moment, I would not be sitting here.
See what happened?
I would not be.
What happened with me was I had reached my bottom with the alcoholism and the just life, and I told him either help me or take me.
Exactly.
I had ran out. It's where you get to that point where you can't call nobody, nothing nobody else
The hope
could do.
is gone.
The
Your
hope is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody's moment of hopelessness is different.
Yeah.
What brought me there may not bring you there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what's interesting about God is that all of these years later, one of the people who I felt hopeless about is now somebody who gives me immense hope now in my life.
Yeah, and
it's
and that's what it do. So when I told him to either let me die or help me, he put the wheels into motion, and then that's when I went to that rehab, and when I was there, after I went through the process of doing the steps, and then I did those 2 steps, and then a feeling came over me that I never felt before, and it was like I didn't care about myself in terms of I died to my self-will. I didn't care about money. I didn't care about partying. I didn't care about alcohol. I didn't care about nothing but trying to serve him and trying to get to heaven. That's the only thing that it's just like a feeling and a emotion just went through my body, and that's all I cared about. It wasn't about nothing else. And
that's the peace.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that
Yeah.
you envy in people. When you
Yeah.
see other people, it's not how they celebrate that
Yeah.
peace. It's the fact that the peace is
Yeah,
there.
and what I came to understand was all my life that's all I was chasing. All of the partying, all of the women, all of the drinking, all of the vacation and all of that. When you're trying to fill that void and fill that void and fill that void. When it was 3:00 in the morning and I was laying in my bed, after all that partying, I still was miserable. I still didn't fill that void. So the next day I'll do more to try to fill that void. And the next day I'll do more to try to fill that void. And God was like tapping me on my shoulder like, bro, I'm over here.
Yep.
You keep doing that, that's not gonna help
It's just
you.
numbing.
Yeah. I'm over here. If you just come over here, all this stuff you stressing about and you worried about and all like that, I'm your solution. And he was cheaper. I wish I would have knew.
Right.
I wish I would have went over there. All that money
Right.
I spent flying to this place and doing that and doing this and doing this. And you think it's fun and you chasing it. What you really trying to do is fill that void that you got inside of you. And he's going to be the only way that you feel it. And if you lucky, he going to bring you to your knees because he has a job for you.
Absolutely.
Now, some people not as lucky as me to actually get to my knees and be able to come back out and him show me what I need to do. Some people die.
Well, and they teach us right early on in salvation that hole is a God-shaped hole,
Yeah,
and that you can
yeah.
try and fill it with relationships
Yup,
or sex
yup,
or whatever the
yup.
case is, but it'll never be filled because it
won't.
can only be filled by God.
Yup.
Nothing else can fill it. And once you allow that to happen, it's still I mean, people think you get saved and
Nah,
it's like
nah, it's
unicorns
more
and
of
rainbows.
I got to get up in the morning. I do my meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I pray when my feet touch the floor. What has really helped me is also too is the fellowship that I'm in, because I go to meetings every day. So before, when I used to go to church, it'll probably be Sunday, and then I wouldn't get I wouldn't get fed again to the next Sunday. So now I'm going to the fellowship every day. So once I go into the fellowship every day, it's built around spirituality. So I'm getting fed every day. I'm getting fed every day. So it's keeping me spiritually connected. And to the common person that's never had a spiritual awakening, they wouldn't understand. Like, honestly, people ask me, like, when Kanye West came out, I knew he was telling the truth. People was telling to me, like, he just a publicity stunt. But I
Right.
saw his whole thing. I saw after his mom died, he wasn't ever the same. And he tried to do all that other stuff we was talking about to fill that void, Then people said he was going crazy. And then God brought him to a point to where he couldn't go nowhere else.
Right.
And he screamed out to God, like, please, please help me. Then when he came back saying, I had a spiritual awakening, the only reason I believed him is because I went through it.
Right.
The average person that ain't never went through it gonna look at him like he crazy and he acting. No, he's really telling the truth.
And I think that's what us common folk go through too. You know, if I
Yeah.
haven't seen somebody in a while and they're like, "What's different?" and then I tell them what's different,
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
you know? And,
Yeah, I go through it,
And
I
some
go through
people
it,
will
I
test
go
it
through
too.
it. Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
let's see. You gonna do this? Are you
Yeah.
gonna do this? You gonna do
Yeah.
this? You know?" And it's not an easy cross.
It's
all
not.
the
It's
time.
not, and that's
Faith
why.
is not easy. It's not for the weak.
And because I do a prayer every morning that asks God to help me die to my self will.
Amen.
I do that every morning because you got to really understand that we don't control nothing.
Nothing.
Somebody said a joke one time. They said, if you want to see God laugh, tell him you got a plan and then wait for it to work out.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we don't control nothing. All we do is wake up and just live our life. He controls everything that happens.
Everything.
And we stress ourselves out by trying to control stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what the stress of life comes from, when you try to take your will back and think you could do this and do that, and then you get disappointed when it don't work out for you, and you want to control this and control that. When you die to all of that, man, you be at so much peace.
So we talk a lot on the podcast about obedience. Is a big thing that we talk about. So because I get asked all the time about the leaps of faith that I've taken and the things that I obey that people are like, you're straight nuts. Like, what's wrong with you? You got responsibilities or this, that, and the other. So talk a little bit about now on this side of salvation and this side of faith, what your daily obedience looks like. You know, when God commands stuff that you're like, what?
I wouldn't put it like this. I would have never thought that my biggest, one of my most top moments in my life, or one of my most embracing moments in my life, would be telling high school kids that I'm an alcoholic. I would have never, if you would have told me that 10 years ago, I would have looked at you like you was crazy.
Right.
And guess what? When I share my story with them, nothing feels better than letting them know what I went through, because I know I'm going to save one or two of their lives. And this the thing. It's so great, but guess what? That's why he don't tell you the whole story. If he would have told me that I had to go through all of this to get this reward, I wouldn't have signed up for it. I'd have been like, nah, God, I want that at the end, but we got to do something else.
Right.
So he allows you to go through all of it, and then when you get the reward, you look back at it and you say, that's what this was about.
Let me ask you this: after you talk to some of the kids and you give that message, What is their response?
Most of the kids come up to me and give me a hug and say thank you. And because my message to them is don't self-medicate, get help. Because this is what happens when you self-medicate. You're going to go across the line, and once you go across that line, you can never come back. You know what I'm saying? So, but the surprising part be how it affects a lot of the adults that be in attendance. Like maybe coaches or parents that have kids there, or they come up to me when some people come up to me in tears when I'm done. Like because and in our community, in the inner cities and African American community, doing something like this is taboo. Nobody goes around and tells people their problems and what they got, what in their darkest or weakest moments, because it makes you look too vulnerable, and that's what our kids need. Our kids need to see somebody like me that they thought had everything, because I was Mike Milton from Basketball Spotlight. And I always tell them, I ain't the guy in front of the liquor store that got the bag that's asking you for money. No, the guy that you come to the tournaments and that was going through all of this, I was struggling. And it could happen to you if you do what I did. It could, if you don't listen to what the therapist and the psychologist and I'm telling you to do, and you want to self-medicate instead of listening to them, eventually you might cross that line that you're going to get the allergy. And I don't look at it. I look at it as like somebody that has diabetes or something like that. They can't eat sugar. They can't do certain things. I can't take a drink because I lost my privilege. I went across that line. So, and like I told you on the thing downstairs, I asked myself, why did God allow me to go through all of this stuff? And become addicted to that in the process. Then it hit me when I talked before I left the treatment center that when I saw how everybody was looking at me when I told my story, none of this was about me. It wasn't about me. It was about me getting through so I could tell people. And this is how dope he is. First, he gives me Basketball Spotlight where I can have a platform where I got all these connections and all these people, and I know all these people, all these kids look up to me. They listen to my voice, they listen to my opinion. Then this tragedy comes. And then I get through the tragedy, and then I pick up this addiction within the tragedy. Then the tragedy ends. And now, who can I tell my tragedy to? The audience that he gave to me and helped me build in the beginning. That's how it works.
Everything is with purpose. Absolutely.
And guess what? I had to find that. Because I'm going to tell you one thing. If I didn't, upon leaving that place, if I didn't figure out why I went through this, I'd have been prone to pick up again. Because I'd have been sitting in my house, I would have started feeling sorry for myself, and I would have said, I can't believe this happened to me, that happened to me, this happened to me, that happened to me. And then I would have probably took a drink again. But the fact that I found a purpose of why all this happened, I use that as fuel to go out and talk and get it off my chest, but to help other people and to tell them what to do. And I was inspired when I first came home. I looked at Chris Herring thing when he talked about Chris Herring that played basketball in the NBA and got addicted to painkillers and heroin. And he was going school to school, to school to school, telling his story. And I said I could do that. And the first couple times I went to talk to AAU teams, I just kept getting better and better and passionate. You can hear it in my voice when I'm saying it, passionate. And it's like something was coming through me, and it was God. Mm-hmm. And she'll tell you sometimes you get up and talk to people, and you say to yourself, I can't believe I said that.
All the time.
Yeah, because it don't be you.
Right.
It really don't be you. You be like, words just come together, but it be the right thing at the right time. And you be like, when you get done, you be like, I can't believe I said that. I said that.
Every time I listen back to a podcast. Every time. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
it be
Everything done with love.
Everything is done with love.
Yeah, I mean, and I pray that, like you said, like for you to get to that other side, I hope you don't have to go through nothing tragic for you to get there, but it ain't no better feeling, man.
But I think tragedy is relative.
is.
People's, rock bottom is
yeah.
all relative.
Yeah,
Yeah. And like I said, what crushes me may not crush Jason,
yeah.
and vice versa. But
Yeah.
you have to be crushed.
Yeah, you got to be crushed.
I mean, that's
You
how
gotta
you
be
get
crushed
wine,
to
right?
build.
You got to be crushed first.
Yeah, most people, like people say, church is the religious hospital. Most people in there got driven there because they went through something that was horrifying that made them go to God.
Now, let me ask you this. There's so many different religions out there. Where do you know where to turn to?
It was more about actually joining the fellowship made it easier for me.
To make us select, I
No,
guess?
the fellowship actually tell you is God to however you understand it. To me, it never was which religion to pick. It was, I believe in the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It was about, I needed guidelines. I'm the type of person where I would open the Bible, but I couldn't follow it because I needed this chapter to connect with this chapter to connect. I got to know the story. And once I'm reading the story, I can learn. I was
Because
that kind of person.
It's about relationships
Yeah,
at the end of the
yeah.
day. It's not about religion. People get
Yeah,
stuck on religion.
yeah.
Like, I got saved in an Assemblies of God church, and I go to a non-denominational church
Yeah.
now. It doesn't matter what, and Assemblies of God or Pentecostal or Baptist,
Yeah.
they're very much stand up, sit down. This is
Yeah,
what you do.
yeah,
This is how
yeah.
and if you don't shout, and if you don't
Yeah.
run around, and you don't speak in tongues, or you don't do all these
Yeah.
things, then you get looked at funny. Or
Yeah.
me as a white person, when I walk into those assemblies, everyone is like, the Catholic Church down the street. You know what I mean? Like there is not that acceptance. But I had to get to a point where it was the relationship I was chasing. What didn't matter
Exactly.
what the house looked
Exactly.
like. Because
Exactly.
church don't happen in the four walls. Church
No, it
is
don't.
within you.
Yeah.
So wherever you go, this is ministry. Like I say that to you all the time. Like this is ministry. The stuff
Exactly.
that I do, you can't stand next to me for too long without knowing where I stand on faith, because
Exactly.
that is my everything of every decision of every day. And so when I fall short, because we do
Yeah,
every single day,
definitely gonna fall short.
then that's rough, but people don't understand that. That is why it exudes from us the way that it does, because it's about that relationship.
Yeah,
It's not
and-
about the religion you choose to fall under.
Okay.
And I mean, for me, that's what I believe in, the Holy Trinity, and just keeping that relationship, the fellowship, the steps. When I saw them steps, I said, "This is what I've been missing." The fellowship that I'm in, it helps you stay sober, but what it did for me was it taught me how to live. I didn't know how to live. Like, I had got caught so much in the world that I was living for the world. I didn't know how to live. And the crazy part is all the stuff that you taught when you was young, I know what I was taught was totally contradicting to how I was supposed to be living. Like I was taught to monetary value to try to make money, to try to achieve this, to try to get that, to try to get this, to try to get this, to try to get that. And then when I joined the fellowship and learned God's true principles, that was all wrong. I was chasing stuff that didn't matter. At the end of the day, it didn't matter, because we're only here to help other people. And once you figure out what he got you here for, you ought to pour in to other people with it. If you don't do that, you didn't accomplish the mission that he got you here for.
You go through to bring others through.
Yeah.
Because somebody who can relate to you can't necessarily relate to me or
Exactly.
relate to you.
Exactly.
that's all part. We go through what we go through because it feeds the call that's on us.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I spent a bigger part of my adult life going, why? Why did this have to happen this way? Why does it have to be this way? Why did it have to? But now I understand, and I don't even know if you know how powerful what you said was. Like, the purpose is what keeps you from the pity party that brings you back to the sin.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And we got a thing called the promises, and it talks about that in there, that the fear of the economic fear and the fear of social status and the fear of being selfish will leave you. And they not lying. As I keep going on in the program, that kind of stuff I don't think about no more. Like, it's not about like I have a tournament, then I make money, then I do different joints to give back to, and I don't post the stuff that I do to give back because you're not supposed to do that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I know I'm trying to help other people, and that's the most important thing that I do right now to get out of myself.
Right.
And I gotta pray about that every day because we're not conditioned like that. That's why you'll see, like, on my social media, it's never really nothing about me. It's about kids, basketball, or you might see me post that I went and talked to this group. And the only reason I post that is because I want another group to call me.
Right.
Where I could go talk to that group, and I could go talk to that group. But you don't see me talking about what kind of car I got or where I'm traveling to or what I'm doing this. It's because one thing they teach us is self-seeking will kill you.
Well, you can't serve two gods.
Exactly.
So if you're going to serve God, then you serve God. If you're going to serve money and status, then you serve money and status. You can't do both. Which is what you started with. You can't straddle the fence.
You can't.
It's one or the other.
You can't, because I always felt like God blessed me to be able to do this, and He want me to be able to have this, and He want me to be able to have that. But He wants you to use it to help other people and to serve Him. Mm-hmm. And use it, then He'll give you more. That's what the people don't be understanding. Like, He like, all right, I gave you this. What did you do with that?
Right.
I gave you that job for $100,000. What did you? Now I really got a blessing down here for you for $1 million. But what did you do with that $100,000 I gave you? If you ain't do what you needed to do with that $100,000, I'm not giving you no $1 million.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what. And
it's not punishment; it's preparation.
Yeah, it's preparation. And this is what I try to tell kids too. There's no better feeling, and I mean this. There's no better feeling in the world than helping somebody without expecting anything in return. Nothing feels better than that. Nothing. Yeah. Nothing feels better than that.
Amen.
Awesome, man. Hey, Mike, man, it was great to have you here today, man.
No, I hope I ain't talked too long.
No,
man, you did your thing, man.
I had never went. I've been on about 7 podcasts, but I've never been on one that was about spirituality and this. You guys, this what helps keep me sober and keeps me pushing forward. And I just love the job you guys do, and I'm gonna be following you guys a lot from now on.
Well, we appreciate the support.
Thanks, Mike, man.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Appreciate that.
I
bro.
told you the category was spirituality. You keep telling me it ain't. I told you.
It's a mixture. You know, you got
but the
like,
foundation.
It's there.
How did y'all
Yes.
come up with this idea?
So I started the Influentials I guess just over a year ago. And I was disobedient at first because God said, do it. I gave you a voice and a story for a reason. Go do it. I was like, I'm not doing it. I rebuke you, Satan.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I ain't got no story to tell. I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So then I obeyed in kind of like a, hey, this woman that worked with me. I was like, hey, do this with me because I'm afraid. And so we did it for a little while. And then, seasons ended. Things changed, and I took a disobedient break of 7 months. God kept saying, go back. What are you waiting for? Go back, go back. So then I finally came back. But the mission was always to give a platform to people to share their story.
Okay.
Because I never had that, and I never had the opportunity to have the benefit of someone's story until I finally was well into adulthood, and somebody was like, yo, let me tell you, you're not the only one. And they shared their story with me, and it changed my life. So I began to realize there's purpose in all this stuff.
100%.
There's purpose in it.
How you get him involved, though?
Well, nothing but God. It's a miracle. It is a miracle.
This is therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
He told me, yo, I want you to be on my podcast. I'm like, you don't really even talk that much. You got a podcast?
And it's crazy because I tell Joy that,
Yep.
I'm not a talker, but I tell you, this is therapeutic for me.
Right.
That's
It's,
dope.
it's
That's dope.
actually teaching me and helping me in my profession.
Okay.
Just
Right.
like being a basketball official, that taught me how to handle more adversity
Okay.
with my job.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, with
because
them
as a
coaches yelling
basketball,
at you,
yeah, coaches, fans, kids,
Yeah.
you want to reach over and snatch one of them kids up, or
yeah.
but this podcast is helping me articulate a little bit better and helping me with my meetings and things like that, and it's just helping me talk.
Okay.
Just helping me just get things out and listening to other people's stories as well. That's why I always, say stuff to Joy about the faith and the spirituality thing, because I'm learning as well too. My parents Jehovah Witnesses, so
Yeah.
when I ask a whole bunch about spirituality, all I know is that because that's what I grew up in, and just hearing you guys talk, it's a lot of things I don't understand, but I'm trying to catch on, and eventually I'm gonna catch on because I'm here with Joy, and she's saved all the way, and she always gives me, bits and pieces of her religion and the things she's talking about to help me guide myself, and eventually I'll find what you guys have.
And
Amen.
and you know what's real crazy about it? I should have known there was something. Last year, tomorrow will be a year when the verdict came down on my birthday. That's when I should have known it was like, I knew God had something to do with it, but I didn't know that my bottom was gonna be like 2-3 weeks later. I didn't know that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
thought it like I'm about to party,
Right.
and he was like, "Nah, I brought it to an end on your birthday to let you know I got a job for you," and I didn't know that at the time. You know what I'm saying? I got a job for you.
So if people want to reach out to you or catch up with you, where they catch you at, Mike?
You can visit our website, my basketball website, bballspotlight.com, and go to our Instagram, bball spotlight, and follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, bball spotlight, and on Facebook, Mike Melton. But hit us on any of the social medias and inbox us, and I always get back to my messages or return calls once you get my information off the website.
Awesome.
Great.
Well, we always finish out the influentials with an attitude of gratitude, which
Okay.
Jason is embracing. He's
Okay.
learning to embrace it.
Yeah, I said
so-
I had to do this every single time.
Yes. Yes. So, we believe, as I'm sure you share, that, when you can have a spirit of gratitude and you can remind yourself
Yeah.
of the stuff that you're grateful
Yeah.
for, it shifts your perspective. So we always like to close out with that because I like
Okay.
everybody to leave with that on their spirit. So,
Okay.
Jason, you want to start?
Sure.
All right.
Started last week too.
Good. We'll see.
Yeah, I like going first.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
important.
one day your name will come first.
I'll be number one.
No.
Yeah, we're still working on that, Jason and Joy.
Yeah, no. Nope.
But again, I'm thankful for Joy for this opportunity. Season 2, Joy and Jason, soon to be Jason and Joy. I'm thankful to have my friend Mike Milton here. We partied a lot. We did a lot of things. Now, as we're older, things will be different, the way we celebrate and have a good time. I'm thankful for, the position I'm in today. So that's what I'm thankful for.
Love it. Okay, I'll go. So, I was very anxious about today's podcast because I felt very unprepared. My co-host did not prepare me as we normally prepare, and then he said to me in his true empathetic way, "Just get over it. You could talk. You'll be fine." And I'm like, "Thank you so much for the confidence." But I'm really grateful to have met you.
Okay.
And to hear your story because your faith really fueled my faith because
Okay.
I've been struggling. My faith was waning on today. So I appreciate your faith story because it did a lot for me today. So I'm so immensely grateful for that today. So
I'm grateful to be alive, man. That God restored my sanity. It's a thing of where when I realized that I had a problem and I really wanted to stop, and you can't stop, it's a scary moment. And you really think you're gonna die, and you don't really know how to stop. And you going to sleep at night, and you can't really sleep, and you just asking God, like, please help me. And you pray, and you shed tears, and then you say, tomorrow I'm not gonna do it, and then tomorrow you do it again. So when that thing says that when the second step says that the only thing that could bring you back is a power greater than yourself, I'm grateful that he gave me the sense of desperation that I was willing to do anything to return to sanity. And now I'm grateful that I'm able to share my story to help other people, to be an inspiration for them.
Amen.
And that I'm not scared to tell people my shortcomings and feel vulnerable to help other people. I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful that you guys asked me to come on. I'm grateful that he came to the tournament and talked to me at the tournament and then put all of this stuff in motion.
Right.
And y'all got a real hot thing going on here. This might inspire me. I'm thinking about getting into this.
Nice.
In terms of basketball, of course, it's going to be more shock jock, like talking junk or whatever. But I was doing one for a while. It wasn't video, but we was doing one. And then me and the guy both got tournaments and companies, so we got too busy. But man, the hair, like, I like it.
Good.
I feel at home with doing this kind of stuff.
Awesome.
So it was a pleasure. And maybe a year from now, something like that, I could come back, whatever, and give an update, and we could go from there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. That's a wrap.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
26.
everybody.
There you go, in the books.